What's good, everybody? It's your boy Rob.J, and welcome back to What the World Need Is. And today, family, I might have a little conspiracy theory for us. As I'm scrolling through social media, I'm sitting here wondering, like, yo, where the fuck did the Shade Room come from, yo? Where did the Shade Room come from? And it just so happened as I'm typing everything in, the Shade Room has their own conspiracy theory. Well, shit, y'all. That's how you know you motherfucking made it. When motherfuckers start putting conspiracy theories out about your ass and you ain't never did shit. Well, today, we gonna go into the conspiracy theory of the Shade Room. Now, we are talking about who may own it, who's behind all the drama, and could it be our own fucking melanated people that's doing it to us, y'all? Let's go. We gonna hear a few stories. We gonna hear a few things that people put together. We gonna add two and two to get motherfucking four. Let's go, y'all. I can't wait to dive into this.
Why? Hello, and welcome to part 1. So if you haven't already know, our series on Korra has really taken off. Now, while we spent a week diving into this story, there's a lot of things that we actually almost missed. Now watch this clip. Now, while taking a look at the Shade Room.
Now, before we go into this the reason why people started looking into the Shade Room as a conspiracy theory, well, as a conspiracy, because they posted, well, a lot of blogs been posting stories about the Cora Jakes situation. And if a lot of y'all don't know who Cora Jakes is, that is the daughter of the famous pastor T.D. Jakes. So she been going through some legal issues, and people been wondering why the Shade Room haven't posted about it. Why the Shade Room ain't post about it? What's going on? Y'all want to post everybody else drama and bullshit? How about y'all post the church drama and bullshit? But all in all, they didn't. And that's what made people start looking into this situation just a little bit more. So when you hear the name Cora Jakes, just know they talking about Pastor Jake's daughter. Now let's go.
We were actually able to see that from the course of the entire week, the Shade Room has actually failed to produce one story about Korra. And let's investigate why. Like you guys already know, before we start our story, we kind of got to lay out the key players. Now, this is Angela, and she's the founder of the Shade Room. The Shade Room was actually founded in 2014, and Angela is actually the one who spearheaded the entire operation. And while the Shade Room needs no introduction, it's very imperative that we actually start our investigation here. As a bystander, let's try to figure out exactly why the Shade Room failed to actually post a story about Korra. So like a nosy bystander, I did some digging. And I actually found this Elle magazine article about the Shade Room, and look at this little blurb that Cardi B inserted herself in. Now, according to Elle magazine, Cardi B officially declared herself to not mess with the Shade Room. She stated that after leaving a number of posts on a few pictures from the Shade Room, they went ahead and deleted her comments, and she didn't understand why. Cardi B also stated that the Shade Room never posted any positive highlights of her career, and she thought that was kind of shady. But it actually doesn't stop there. Singer Summer Walker actually stated that the Shade Room was a disgusting place. Summer stated that it's where the insecure feel the most confident. It's where people's lower selves thrive. But that's not all. In a deleted post, actor Lakeith Stanfield stated that the Shade Room was anti-black and was problematic for the black community. And don't worry, honey, because there is plenty more on the internet where that came from. Outside of deleting comments from artists they may not like and only highlighting the ones that they do, the Shade Room does have a close connection with the Potter's House. And let's check that out. Just a month ago, our good friend Angela here is actually seen on the stage with Torrey Roberts. And if you aren't caught up to speed, Torrey happens to be married to Sarah Jakes, T.D. Jakes' daughter. And if you think that Angela just randomly sat on stage with Torrey Roberts is a one-time dealing, you'd be wrong. Angela actually has her roots in the Potter's House, and we're going to get into that in part 2. So we last left off where we were talking about the interconnections between the Shade Room and the Potter's House, correct? So while doing some sleuthing, I went ahead and actually found their employee roster. Check this out. While doing some digging on the Apollo app, I was actually able to find the roster of employees at the Shade Room. Now, you would think that a company that large would have more than 24 employees, but here we are. Now, the first employee I found was Amy Ike. Amy Ike used to work for Trinity Broadcasting Network, and she's actually a makeup artist for the Shade Room. Now, if you thought that her name sounded familiar, let me tell you whose relative I just found.
The Sunday family. What a pleasure it is to be with you all on this day. I am so excited for what God has purposed to do in and through your life.
Well, Stephanie, we're proud too. That's not all. Check out this other employee that I found at the Shade Room. Now, meet Taylor Bickman. They were actually a digital marketing manager for TD Jakes Ministries. And what do you have it? They now work at the Shade Room. This article is actually pulled from the LA Sentinel, and here you can see Angela and Stephanie Ike discussing their series that they have with the Potter's House. This is actually a podcast called The Same Room. The Same Room is in their third season, and they are actually funded in part by the Potter's House. And that's exactly what happens when you have the media in your pocket. When a church like the Potter's House has one of the largest black publications in their back pocket, well, no wonder we don't hear stories about Cora or even Jermaine. And if you didn't know, back in 2009, Jermaine actually had an incident where he was caught doing some lewd things in the park. And even then, when he had other litany of charges that stemmed past 2014 when the Shade Room was birthed, they still never discussed it. And now that we're all realizing that the Shade Room is not news, let's actually get into what the BuzzFeed actually discovered about the Shade Room. So the BuzzFeed actually reached out to a lot of the old school bloggers before the Shade Room had actually become birthed. The BuzzFeed actually got a quote from Juana Thomas, and they stated that the Shade Room is filth. And I couldn't agree more. They stated that it is the very definition of toxic waste. And they also stated that in a tweet, block me if you follow or engage in the Shade Room. Angela actually reached out to BuzzFeed and stated that she wouldn't be getting as much flack if she was a white publication, which is not true because the Shade Room actually doesn't produce journalism. Angela actually stated that she wouldn't be getting as much flack if she were a white publication, which is absolutely incorrect. The Shade Room actually produces content for celebrities that they like and suppress content for celebrities that they may be protecting or dislike. The Shade Room also pumps out a lot of these small images and think pieces that they decide to call news, when in actuality, it isn't. A lot of their publication does not offer any nuance and does not dissect into the story that gets down to the point of it. And so because of that, this is the reason why a lot of roommates are leaving. And that's not all. In part 3, we're actually going to be dissecting the interview that Kyle did from the Neighborhood Talk about why he left the Shade Room. And don't worry, I actually sent him an email.
Oh shit, y'all. Let's go.
I got you. Part 3. Now, before we discuss that interview that Kyle did with the Neighborhood Talk about him exiting the Shade Room, let's get into some of these DMs, from the Shade Room. And I want to thank one of our nosy bystanders for actually reaching out to the Shade Room. So let's see what they have to say. So our nosy bystander actually reached out to the Shade Room, and let's dissect exactly what it is they have to say. So our nosy bystander started off the conversation by saying, why y'all not talking about the Jakes family situation like everyone else? Just wondering, is it because y'all owner is friends with them? The Shade Room stated, what's the situation? Yeah, all right. Our nosy bystander continued and said, Cora Jakes manipulating Michelle, taking her son Jason, allegedly. I know y'all seeing all of this. The Shade Room replied, no, actually haven't heard about it. All right. Our nosy bystander continues and says, I also see how y'all owner have been on the Jakes platform a couple times. So just wondering, is that the reason why y'all haven't had y'all post the story? Our nosy bystander continues and says, oh wow, you're missing the tea. You want the story? But now we're going to get to where it gets juicy. The Shade Room replies and says, we have a spiritual page called The Same Room, and lots of spiritual leaders and celebrities speak on that platform, but we haven't heard this story. Is it about his daughter? Our nosy bystander goes on and says, and Pastor Ike's sister works for the Shade Room as well, so that could be another reason why this story is not being broadcast. And yes, it's about his daughter. Michelle have been going live telling her story on how they helped take her son and everything. The Shade Room replies, it doesn't seem like something we would post. Can you send the details? Now, before we continue, I just wanted to make it abundantly clear. Why wouldn't this story, one of the biggest stories that has been gracing across all of the internet, not be something that they would post? And don't you worry, the Shade Room told us why. I didn't even have to tell the nosy bystander this. She knew what was up. Our nosy bystander goes on to say, but you post about other drama and other things that are not relevant, so that's weird. And I couldn't agree more. Now, just so y'all know, the Shade Room continues. Now, the Shade Room states, we post drama that has to do with what people our platform cares about. Now, if we stop the conversation right there, it's abundantly clear that the Shade Room, or whoever it is writing those messages, thinks that the Shade Room does not care about TD Jakes, Sarita Jakes, Cora Jakes, Sarah Jakes, Jermaine Jakes, Jamar Jakes, and the others. And if that's not true, you guys better find somebody else to be checking your messages. Now, before I read the statement, this is probably exactly where the Shade Room employee lost their job. The employee continues and says, if it's happening and we haven't heard about it, then more than likely our roommates don't care about it. They send us things they want to see on the page, just as you did, but this is the first message we received about it. Part 4. I got you.
God damn. Y'all, it's a lot of shit going on with that. It's a lot of shit going on with that. So I told y'all, it's a whole conspiracy behind it. They are thinking that the black church owns the Shade Room. If this is true, this is crazy. The black church owns the Shade Room. And I say the black church because as soon as everybody think black church, they think about T.D. Jakes. He's like the most profound, predominant black preacher of all times. So if he owns the Shade Room, then definitely we know why a lot of the stories hasn't been coming out about a lot of the people in the church sector of the music industry and of the entertainment industry. And I say entertainment industry because a lot of people, a lot of these pastors that saw on TV, they are not real pastors. They are literally entertainers. So that's just a little story on the Shade Room. I wanted to get that out there. Let y'all know what's going on with the conspiracy of the Shade Room. And on that note, y'all, deuces.